We're back. Silver and Blue Huddle, episode number 14. Those Cowboy Nation boys are back again. Coming off a fresh win of the Washington Commanders. We told y'all last week that we was going to come back and do this podcast, and we was going to come back victorious, and we're here to do that. So Amazing is back, and obviously we still got my man Expert Corner. I'm Richblkman, Silver and Blue Huddle, man. We are excited. We're ready to go. Last week of the season, week 18. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming playoff schedule and our road to the Super Bowl for championship number 6. How y'all feeling tonight, fellas?
Hey, I'm good. Good to be back. Good to have the group back.
Yes.
I'm so excited. Yeah, again, glad to be back. I know last week I had some personal things I had to take care of with my family, but I'm glad to be back off a huge end of the season win. I'm not excited that we beat the Washington. I'm excited that we got the title.
Right.
They don't mess around. Right. They done gave the Cowboys a division title, and they gave the Cowboys the number 2 seed, and they gave the Cowboys home games where we don't lose. So Correct. The NFC's in trouble. Yeah, you guys are in big trouble to give the Cowboys a division number 2 seed in home field games. Like, it can't get no better than that.
Facts.
It can't get no better than that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's hop right into the game, man. Week 18, Washington Commanders, Washington football team, whatever they want to call themselves. It doesn't matter. The Cowboys dominated, just like I said they would last week. I said they was going to score like almost 40 points, 40-10, I think was my prediction, and they put 38-10. So I knew what I was talking about when I called that game. I knew the Washington Commanders didn't have a chance at all to come up with the Dallas Cowboys, and Dak Prescott played well. Tony Pollard played well. CeeDee Lamb, the beast, the GOAT, might even be the best wide receiver in the game. He is the best wide receiver in the game. He should get a wide receiver of the year. If not, maybe I'm capping, but he gonna probably get he ain't gonna get MVP, but he should be definitely in the running for that. So we also had.
You're saying offensive player of the year?
Offensive player of the year for sure, 100%, 100%. So not really much to talk about regarding like the offense. Dak Prescott went off as we all expected. 31 on 36 passing attempts, 279, 4 TDs, 1 interception, which came off like a tip pass or whatever. We finally saw a Tony Pollard appearance, 17 carries of 70 yards. That was great, and 1 TD. Rico put in for 9 for 46. And that bad man CeeDee Lamb caught all 13 of his targets for 98 yards. That's a bad dude. That is a bad dude. What did you think about it, So Amazing?
I mean, overall, as a team, I think they did fantastic, honestly. My first initial reaction was, here we go. Division game. Let's go out there and beat them up. Now, what got me nervous at first was when the game was a little too close. That got me a little nervous. I ain't gonna lie. As a Cowboy fan, I said, "Don't ruin this. Don't ruin this." Especially when I saw the G-men on the other side doing their thing. I was like, "Come on, Dallas. Don't mess this one up." But yeah, I mean, they turned it around. Next thing you know, CeeDee Lamb started catching all the targets. They started, going all over the field. Dak did his thing. So I was very impressed with the win, and we did it in fashion and won the title. That's my initial reaction.
Absolutely. What about you, Eds?
Yeah, you gotta be excited about games like this, right? Because obviously, as Cowboy fans, we want them to just come out and dominate the whole game, right? Well, there's NFL players on the other side. They're gonna put a fight up. And then the Cowboys just took the fight to the Commanders. And it was very clear very early on that Commanders team, they're missing a lot of pieces. Obviously, Ron Rivera gets let go today. They know that they're struggling there in Washington. Their secondary is in shambles. They've traded away a lot of their defensive linemen, their interior defensive linemen. Their big one is hurt. So, I mean, eventually you knew the Cowboys were going to lean on them, kind of press on them. What I'm most excited about is no Tyler Smith, no Zach Martin, and this offensive line looked as good as they've looked all year. Now, obviously, it's against a subpar opponent in the Washington Commanders, but to see TJ Bass, to see Hoffman, to see Tyron Smith, to see Tyler Biadasz, Terrence Steele kind of put this together and finally get some running game going into the playoffs, a place where you got to find a way to run the football was amazing. And then you talked about CeeDee Lamb. I mean, other teams know 88 exists, right? They know he exists. So you got to have an effort to try and stop him. The problem is that Dak Prescott had no problem finding people. He found Jake Ferguson 6 catches. Rico Dowdle caught 3. Brandon Cooks caught 6. Tony Pollard caught 2. Jalen Tolbert 2 with the little back shoulder throw in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. Right. I get that teams are going to try and take CeeDee Lamb away. The problem is they got so many other weapons. Teams cannot just focus on one guy. It's kind of like on the other side. If you look at the Commanders, they got Terry McLaurin. He's their number one, clear number one, another 1,000-yard receiving season. But 2 and 3 for the Washington Commanders can't compare to the 2 and 3 that the Cowboys got. And they don't have a tight end like Jake Ferguson. So, yes, please focus on CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott's going to find him when he needs to. Obviously, he caught all 13 passes thrown to him. He had 2 touchdowns, 98 yards. I mean, he went off, didn't play the whole fourth quarter. Easily could have gone over 100 yards if the game was close. But that's what we wanted to see. We talked about it last week, Rich. Can we see a complete game from this team? Offensively, defensively, special teams, right? Offensively, they go right down the field. They score a bunch of points. Was not happy about my guy Aubrey, getting one block. He missed doinked one off the upright.
1 for 3, man. 1 for 3.
He comes back and hits the 50-yarder. So all is good. It's no big deal. Then you look at the defensive side, and of course, so amazing. We'll talk about the defensive side. They get after the quarterback. They get after, turning the ball over. Deron Bland gets another pick. Donovan Wilson plays well. Marquise Bell all over the field. And then you look at special teams. They go and block another punt from Peyton Hendershot, a guy that no one really talks about as a tight end, but he's playing special teams. He makes a huge play blocking the punt. This was a complete game and one we needed to go into the playoffs on this high note. You played well on the road, regardless that it's the Commanders. Play a complete game, dominate them so much so that your starters get to take the whole fourth quarter off. The only thing that I didn't like about this game is watching Stephon Gilmore walk back to the locker room. Now, obviously, the talks are that he's going to be fine. He told the coach, I'm good. Don't worry about it. I will be there next week, Sunday at 3:30 Eastern time, 3:30 Central time. I'll be ready to go. Don't worry. I'm perfectly fine. So it wasn't too bad, but that's always scary to see, especially when you've already lost Trayvon Diggs, to see Stephon Gilmore kind of walk gingerly back to the locker room. But other than that, a great game going into the playoffs. I cannot wait to get these Green Bay Packers to come into Dallas or Arlington. I mean, it's not Dallas. It's close. I mean, it's like a suburb, but it's going to be fun to see playoff football back where it belongs with the Dallas Cowboys.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you, man. Definitely. And Stephon Gilmore, before he got injured, man, he did lead the team in tackles with 6, Michael Parsons at 5, but we're going to let So Amazing talk about the defense. I love the game. We came out and dominated. I was able to watch it and not have to be on pins and needles. But what you got on the defense, man?
I mean, honestly, the defense just did a total domination again, right? Twice. I mean, you got, everybody kind of got a sack. Parsons got his sack. Deontay Fowler got a sack. I forgot the third person that got a sack. I think he was on the D line. It was like a sack and a half.
Lawrence Armstrong.
Yeah, Dorrance, right? Okay, yeah. I always get it confused with the other guy. And then, you have your interceptions. And again, Donovan Wilson comes up again, making a play, right? And that's 2 weeks in a row. 2 interceptions, Donovan Wilson making a play, stepping up when the defensive needs it. And wow, and I'm going to be honest, I know I missed you guys yesterday, but this is another tip. I mean, last week, this is another thing I want to say about Donovan Wilson. Not only did he get an interception this week and last week, but there was a big play last week too that I didn't get to talk about on this podcast. That it was a red zone play against the Lions, and he Debo'd the pulling guard and got the tackle to save the touchdown. So these are things that I'm very excited to see about our defense. We're flying around right now. We had linebacker issues for a long time. And the one thing that gets me nervous about going into the playoffs, and I know we're going to get a little more detail of that moving forward, is that we need to make sure defensively that we stop this run. Because in the playoffs, people are going to try to run down our throats, and they're going to try to control us. And where our strength is pass rush, as you can tell by the stats all year. Dan Quinn can dial it up. What we need is to be injury-free. Like you said, the Gilmore, right, expert? What got me nervous was I saw him come up a little gingerly with his shoulder because he outreached and tried to knock that pass out. That's cool. But we need him to, get right, be ready for Sunday. And we need that defense to step up because the Washington Commanders didn't have that many weapons, like you said. They had Howell. He didn't know what he wanted to do. That offensive line didn't know how to block right. We wreaked havoc. It was like a practice game for us. We got the title. Our defense has been going in the right direction. Right. Players are stepping up, and I love to see it. So, like, in general, defensive domination against the Commanders. Everybody got some love. Everybody got their stats in, and we are gonna wreak havoc in the playoffs.
Exactly, and even that bad man Deron Bland even got another interception. So shout out to Deron Bland stepping up in the absence of Trayvon Diggs. Man, he's been balling out of control all year long. So to have him get another interception in Week 18, I was happy to see that. So hopefully it's going to be more of that coming in the playoffs and then the Super Bowl. So I fully expect
that's the defensive player of the year in Deron
100%.
Bland.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I was gonna say I didn't know his background. I know his background, like where he came from to where he is now. Like undrafted, wasn't invited to combines. Crazy story this guy has.
Right. And he's put the work in, and that's a testament not only to Deron Bland, but that's a testament to Al Harris as well, the secondary coach for the Cowboys, who has put the time in to get him ready. He played well last year in the slot. Of course, obviously he didn't play a lot on the outside. Then Jordan Lewis kind of take over the slot. He had to slide out when Trayvon got hurt, and he's done such an amazing job. It's good to see some of those guys win. But I think So Amazing hit this so perfectly. And he may not have meant this, but this is exactly where he's going, right? When you get into the playoffs, the NFL kinds of shifts, and it's crazy how it shifts, right? It goes from guys trying to throw the ball around, right? 400-yard throws, 300-yard game. It's not you're gonna see that from Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. You're gonna see it from the elite guys, right?
Yeah.
I think Dak Prescott's getting to that category where we can start calling him elite every single year. But it just shifts, and now teams are, like So Amazing said, they want to control the clock. How do you stop this off? How do you stop the Cowboys offering from scoring points? You keep them on the sideline. Yeah. You run the football. The Commanders didn't do that. They had 50 yards rushing. They couldn't run the football. Exactly. Guess what the Green Bay Packers do really, really well? They run the rock.
And how many running backs do they have?
They got two. They got Aaron Jones and they got A.J. Dillon. Now, A.J. Dillon's kind of banged up. He's kind of a game-time decision right now. I expect him to play the playoffs. This is when it matters. They held him out against the Bears. He's going to probably play first the Cowboys. But that is where the Cowboys are going to be able to say, we are Super Bowl contenders because we can stop the run. Mm-hmm. So, yes, Dan Quinn, he can dial up a blitz. He's also got a tremendous front four, Micah Parsons. The Donovan Wilson pick is only because DeMarcus Lawrence is in the backfield hitting the arm of Sam Howell. Yeah. Doesn't give up on the play. Dorrance Armstrong plays well. Oza Odigizua plays well. Fowler's playing well. Sam Williams is playing. Those front guys are playing well no matter who they put in there.
And they're being rotated in. That's the
right. And even Monty had some good plays where you like to see the rookie playing well. But where it matters most when we start to get into these playoffs, like So Amazing said, it's can you play your run fit? Can you stop the Packers and get them off of the field when it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4? Don't let them run the football and extend drives. To get this high-powered offense on the field, is you have to find a way to get this Packer team off of the field. And this Packer team coming in with a lot of confidence, right? They feel like they deserve to be here.
But I got a question for both of you guys. When you're saying like that attitude that the Packers have now, because they got that drive, my question is to both of y'all, we need to keep them one-dimensional, right? So how do we do that? How do we keep them one-dimensional? And Love, which is a rookie to the playoffs, how do we do that? How do we keep them one-dimensional?
Well, I think we showed it in the Commanders game, right? Is that you're not chasing a certain player on the Commanders, right? You play versus the Bills, you're like, okay, we got to stop Josh Allen. We got to control Josh Allen and let everything else happen. If we can control Josh Allen, right? You play the Chiefs, okay, we got to control Patrick Mahomes, keep him in the pocket. You play the Eagles, the same thing with Jalen Hurts. You got to figure out where A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are, control those guys, right? The Packers, you're not looking at the Packers and saying, okay, we got to control Jordan Love, right? You're not saying that. What you're saying is we got to get this team to third down, 3rd and 6 to 3rd and 10, and then make this young quarterback make a read against this secondary who's going to play a lot of man and go after him and fluster him in the pocket. That's the difference between the Packers and the Commanders. Is Jordan Love an elite quarterback? No, he's young. It's his first time playing, but he watched elite for a long time when he was behind A-Rod. He understands what it takes to be a quarterback in the NFL, and he's making a lot. If you look at that game versus the Bears, he made a lot of good throws. The problem is we don't talk enough about the bad throws of Jordan Love. We all want to talk about the good stuff with him. And I like Jordan Love. I think he's going to be a good quarterback for the Packers. But like So Amazing said, if we find a way to fluster this young guy, he's going to throw us the football. And it starts up front with those front 7 and stopping the run, front 6, whatever we run at them.
Yes.
Right.
And that's
stop Aaron Jones. It's stop A.J. Dillon and make the Packers have to rely on a young quarterback to throw the ball down the field. This is not Aaron Rodgers coming to AT&T Stadium.
Yep.
Right? They don't have the same weapons. Devontae Adams is not there. This is a game, and I know we're already starting to bleed into the playoff talk. Richblkman, like, slow down, guys. Right?
But that's where we're at right now. I mean, that's the mindset, right? I mean, let's be real.
I think when we go back and we look at maybe the past 5 weeks of the Cowboys, if you look at the Bills game, we control Josh Allen, but we don't stop the run at all.
Now that's what I'm saying. Like the same feeling, right, guys?
Right.
I don't want to come back on this podcast and be like, I told you so. Like, I don't want to feel that same way that I felt when we lost to the Bills, where it was like, I'd rather lose to like, yo, man, you know what? Listen, our pass rush tried to get there. We couldn't get the Love. Love was getting the ball off. He found the open holes. Hey, shout out to the young boy. You know what I mean? Like that's what I would love to say if we lost. I don't want to sit here and say we lost because Aaron Jones and Dillon ran all over us for 200 plus yards combined and like our 2 rushing TDs. I'm going to be sick on that couch when I watch that game. Right. That's why we need to do exactly what you just said, expert.
Yeah, but I think you got to flip that on the other side too, right? And you got to say, okay, Dallas, now's the time to start leaning on other teams with this run game, right? And it may not be in the first and second quarter, right? You may get flashy, throw some balls to CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jake Ferguson, whatever. But you start getting into that 3rd and 4th game. What did the Cowboys do of old time, right? The Cowboys would get up 10, 14 points, and they would lean on you.
They would pound the run.
Emmitt Smith was coming right. He was going left. He was going counter. He was going dive. You knew Emmitt was coming, and that front 5, front 6 leaned on you. That's what the Cowboys got to get to, because they're going to play some teams. How do you stop a 49er team? You keep that offense on the sideline by running the football, controlling the clock. It's time to get back to the Jimmy Johnson, the Bill Parcells days where we just controlled the game. And Rich and I have talked about this. So Amazing and I have talked about this. You have to control the narrative in the playoffs. You cannot be the team that has to come out and say, okay, we're down 10. We got to get a quick score and get us. That's not the Cowboys I want to see. I want to see the Cowboys be methodical on offense and say, listen, we're going to take what this defense gives us, but we're going to pound this rock from the first quarter on, and we're going to lean on you, because when we get to the 4th quarter, you're going to be tired, you're going to be gassed, and we're going to run through you then in the 4th quarter. And this is one of those games where you got to make it ugly, right? And not only ugly, but you got to send a statement to the rest of the NFC of what the Cowboys can do at home when they run the football. It goes both ways.
We sound like Rich. We sound like a bunch of coaches right now. Like being expert. Like we sound like we're about to run out the tunnel right now.
Hey, I mean, I'm just happy that we're talking playoff football. So obviously,
when I was the defensive coordinator for my high school football team that I coached when I was in West Texas, as a defensive coordinator, was the thing we talked about every week. Right? We have to stop the run. If we stop the run and make teams throw the football, every time that ball is in the air, I feel it's a 50-50 chance that it's going back the other way.
Right.
But if you allow a team to be successful running the football, then everything in their offense opens up because now you're worried about the run. Play action is there. They got a young quarterback that can roll out. It's all about stopping the run. And so amazing is said on this podcast so many times. It's about run fits. Do your job. If you are in the A gap, be in the A gap. Don't say, well, I think he's going to the B gap. No, be in the A gap and trust the guy next to you that's in charge of the B gap to be where he's supposed to be. And that's where this team can be successful because they have that talent. And I think the Packers are sitting there thinking the same thing. We got to find a way to run the football and shorten this game and make it one of those, like Rich said, make it a 3-point game where it comes down to our kicker versus your kicker. That's the game I don't want to see.
Banger and butter.
No, I mean, we don't want that type of game to where it's close like that, to where Jordan Love, all he had to do is maybe get his team into field goal range and maybe they draw like a PI or something, or maybe he just makes a great throw and gets a completion to put that team in field goal range to maybe win the game. I don't want that type of game. I want us to have a 14-point lead at all times, put the pressure on Jordan Love, put the pressure on the Packers, like make Matt LaFleur actually have to like coach and call out some good plays in order to get that team in position to win. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think the Cowboys are going to come out and dominate. I think they're going to come out and be able to score at will against the Packers, and the Packers are going to have to pretty much abandon that run game that they may want to try to get going and have to put the ball back into Jordan Love's hands. Like looking at the schedule for the Packers when they first started, I mean, they lost to Atlanta. I mean, Jordan Love really wasn't even cooking it up until like maybe mid-season towards the end of the season when they pretty much had like a lot of garbage games, a lot of garbage time. He did have over 4,100 yards passing and like 32 touchdowns, which put him in the top 10 as far as touchdowns. But like I said, all of that was pretty much garbage time. And, you know, we saw what he kind of did on national TV a few times where he wasn't able to really be as dominant. So I'm hoping that the Cowboys just come out and just dominate and leave it for like, they don't leave no doubt that the Cowboys are the better team, because on paper, the Cowboys are a better team. On the field, the Cowboys are a better team. So we need to play like we're the better team on Sunday to like leave no doubt that the Packers are not on the Cowboys level at all. Like, they're the number 7 seed for a reason. They barely had to make it in for a reason. So let's make sure that we hold true to that they barely had to make it. Like, they probably shouldn't even really be in it. But shout out to them,
Rich. I was going to say, Rich, you know, those names that you just mentioned, right? A lot of their losses, when they really look at it, I don't care if it's early in the season, middle of the season, late in the season, all their losses are against teams that had pass rush. Raiders, I'm looking at it now, like, you know, Lions have pass rush. Like, there's a lot of teams that they lost to that had a pass rush, you know? And, you know, the game plan, LaFleur might try to do some misdirection. He might try to get bull, because you know what's going to happen, guys. He's going to pull tricks out the pocket. It's the playoffs. People like you said is going to, you know, control the ball. Then they're not want to give the ball up. So it's playoff football we're about to see. And this is the whole weekend. It's not just our game. The whole weekend you're going to see playoff football. My favorite matchup besides ours, just to kind of throw it in there, is Steelers-Bills. And people were like, what? Mike, you're crazy. Did you see how iffy Allen is? That's all I'm going to say. I think the Steelers go up there and prove a point. That's on me. But like I said, playoff football is here, and we don't got to worry about no weather because we're in Jerry's world.
Exactly. We win this game, we win the next game. I mean, they gave us, like I said, the NFC messed up when they gave the Cowboys 2 home games. Like, and they gave us the division too. So I know in the beginning of the year, everybody's like, "Oh, the Philadelphia's gonna win the division." Well, you saw what happened, right? And to be honest, just to throw something in there about Philly, like I was watching them all year long. Like they was pretty much barely winning. Like they was on skates all year long. So I'm kind of not surprised that they kind of fell off at the end because it was a long time coming. I mean, how many times you sat up here every single week and say, "Oh, Philly should have lost." Like, if it wasn't for the Bills, if it wasn't for other teams just giving them W's, like, Philly probably wouldn't even be in the playoffs. Or they'd be like the number 7 seed.
It's crazy when you look at some of these games, right?
Yeah.
You know, momentum is a crazy thing in the NFL, right? And so if you looked at Philly's team last year, they were so dominant. I mean, they were dominant against football teams, right? Now, obviously, when you play versus the Cowboys, we split with them again this year. We should have beat them twice, but we split again this year. But this year, the Eagles weren't as dominant, right? No. Teams starting to figure out the RPO stuff. They starting to figure out. Now, obviously, they lose their offensive coordinator from last year. And the offensive coordinator they bring in, was horrendous, and I pray sign him to a 5-year extension, keep him. But momentum is crazy, right? You lose one game you're not supposed to lose, and you're like, okay, pump the brakes, it's okay. Everybody gets us, right? We felt that way versus the Cardinals early in the year. Pump the brakes, it's okay. We were missing some players we didn't think were going to be key. The Cardinals got us. Well, you know what? They almost lose to the Giants the first time. Then the Cardinals get them. Then the Giants get them. I mean, just literally embarrassed them in the last game of the season. Momentum is crazy because they got to go play the Bucs, who got momentum going the other way, right? A team that nobody expected with Baker Mayfield at quarterback to win that division and be in the playoffs at a home game. Now, do I think the Eagles beat the Bucs? I do. I think the Eagles beat the Bucs. I don't think it's close. I think they dominate the Bucs.
Well, they do have home field advantage, and I was going to ask Rich because he's the local over there. Now, Rich, you've been to a Bucs game. Do they get loud over there? Like, will it affect Hurts?
I mean, the Bucs do get kind of loud, but the last time, actually, they played them in a regular season, and I went to that game, and the Eagles pretty much dominated the Bucs. Yeah, they stayed in the game for a little bit, but it was clear who the better team was on the field, and the Buccaneers definitely was not it. I mean, I know they obviously have AJ or whatever, but
it's going to come down to that locker room, right?
Yeah.
Can the Eagles find a way, right? Okay. But the thing is that if the Eagles lose, will it surprise any of us?
Nope.
No, I don't think it'll surprise anybody.
I don't think it will surprise anybody in that Eagles locker room either, right? Because they're in shambles, right? And we've been there. We know as Cowboy fans what that's like when you're 8-8 or you're 5-12. We understand those shambles, right? But this is a team in Philadelphia that I know this is crazy. I had to look it up because I didn't believe it. They was 10-1. They was 10-1. So amazing. They was 10-1. And then they had the division locked up. Now, the NFC East has not had a repeat winner in like 18 years. Like, it's just crazy, right? It's craziness, right? There's so much parity in the NFC East. But this team was 10-1. Like, how do you justify that collapse? Now, Cowboy fans, we get a lot of hate. We get a lot of judgment. There's going to be people in the comments after this video that are going to talk bad about the Cowboys. You know, them 49er fans show up every single time we do a YouTube video, and they put it in the dang YouTube comments. Oh, y'all ain't beat the 49ers. Well, guess what? The 49ers Super Bowl has got more dust on it than the Cowboys. So I don't want to hear none of that crap from a 49er fan. Yes. Do y'all have one of the best teams in NFL? Yes. No doubt. Brock Purdy, I think, is a great quarterback. You got two elite wide receivers. You have the best running back in the game in the backfield, and you still didn't get it done last year. I don't want to hear nothing from a 49er fan. We're in the same boat. We're just paddling in two different directions. I don't want to hear it from them. The same thing with the Eagles. They were 10-1. They were flying high. They were the team to beat. And all of a sudden, one thing happens here, one thing happens there. And like So Amazing says, if you can't find a way to win some of these games and you start losing traction, a team like the Cowboys just kept chugging along, didn't we? Chugging along.
Closed out the season strong.
Win. In the toughest part of our season when people were like, oh, now we're going to find out about the Cowboys. Well, they NFC East champions, they the number 2 seed, and they get 2 home playoff games because they're going to beat the brakes off of the Packers. And I don't care who comes the next week, if it's the Rams, the Eagles, the Bucks, the Lions, I don't care who it is. This is where the Cowboys cement their legacy. And as a Cowboy fan, I'm tired of saying next year is our year. It starts right now. And it started week 18 with the thrubbing, the domination of those Commanders. And now it's going to be week 2 of the playoffs for us going up against these Packers.
It's time to finish the fight, baby. Let's go.
Absolutely. I love it. So 2 more things before we get out of here, man. Let's recap the Cowboys season as a whole. Offensive recap a little bit. I'm looking at the NFL stats for the year. And Dak Prescott ended off at number 3 in total yards. And it's not even really that much of a difference between Tua and Jared Goff. Dak Prescott finished 45-16 and Tua finished 46-24 and Jared Goff 45-75. So that's not even that much of a difference between the two. Dak Prescott ended up with 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And if you saw my reel today, I mentioned that Dak Prescott, he's still on his business, and he said that he wasn't going to throw more than 10, and he ended off with 9. So it's amazing that we're not talking about interceptions this year. I wonder why. I really, really wonder why.
Yeah.
But shout out to Dak Prescott on the passing success that he had this year, man. Beast, GOAT numbers, MVP numbers. If you don't give it to Dak Prescott MVP, I mean, the numbers speak for itself. Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. Like, in my mind, Dak Prescott is MVP with these numbers right here. So shout out to him, man. Let's also shout out CD Lamb with 1749 yards receiving. He ended up with 12 touchdowns, one shy of Tyreek Hill, which is 13. So the Cowboys offense showed up and showed out this year offensively. Like, I know people was like, yo, with Kellen Moore gone, what the Cowboys going to do? Is Dak Prescott going to be a better quarterback? Is CeeDee Lamb going to be able to step up? The numbers show that they did. The numbers show that they are very dominant. So shout out to those guys, man. And that's just offense. Like, we can get into defense, but that's just offense. And we know what the defense did all year long. Deron Bland, Defensive Player of the Year, no question. He had that wrapped up, week 10, 11? With like 5 or 6 weeks to go, Deron Bland, like
9
Cowboys,
interceptions
man.
for the year. 9
interceptions. He set that record too, and we had the best kicker in the game too.
Crazy.
If this ain't screaming,
well,
Super
our kicker
Bowl
would have been
champions.
perfect for the season.
Yeah,
he was close.
Right.
I will say that. Banger and butter, anger and butter.
And if this is not screaming championship football team, Super Bowl champions, then I don't know what is.
Again, I don't want to jinx it. I'm enjoying one game at a time, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's a really good feeling in my stomach about this year's team. Like, when I was watching them play, man, and I'm watching everybody else crumble, like, it really is a crash course for the Niners Cowboys NFC Championship.
Right.
It really is a crash. The way the playoff bracket is designed right now, it's a crash course right now. Because listen, if we beat, I know I don't like to talk in the future, but if we beat the Packers, and depending on who we match up with next, I'll be honest, I would love to go against the Rams next. Even though I was nervous to go against them, I'd rather play the Rams than the Lions again. Only reason why is because I know the Lions gonna come in with a chip on their shoulder, and I don't feel like playing against that.
Right. And one thing about that before we go as well, and we gonna get into the playoff game, like the predictions. Like, NFL playoffs got some unique storylines. Like, we ain't got to go in detail, but let me know which storyline you're interested in outside the Dallas Cowboys and Packers matchup. You guys should know. You want me to tell you the storylines? Like,
well, can I say one of them?
Rams,
yeah, Stafford and Rams. Yeah,
Tyreek
exactly.
Hill and the Chiefs.
Is there any other story besides
Rams line?
Stafford going back to Detroit to play against Jared Goff, who the Rams said we couldn't win with? Stafford wins the Super Bowl with the Rams. Now the Lions are the team to beat in that matchup. That's going, and now the Rams are playing. We talked about momentum. The Rams are playing really good football right now,
Right.
and the Lions are playing really good football. That's going to be a huge matchup.
Right.
I mean, the Joe Flacco story to me is the greatest thing in the NFL right now, right?
Yes.
I mean, Joe Flacco coming off the couch, he looks like he's 25 again. He's slinging the football around. Let's just think if that Browns team was healthy. They're missing like 50% of their cap on IR.
Yeah,
I mean, Deshaun Watson is hurt. Nick Chubb is hurt. I mean, they're doing this with some patchwork. Amari Cooper's playing out of his mind right now, and Njoku playing well. That defense is stingy. That's a big matchup. But for me, I think the biggest thing for me is the Baker Mayfield versus Jalen Hurts. This is the game I'm looking to see the most. Okay?
Why, though?
Because Baker Mayfield was the guy that everybody discarded. They said his time is done. He was in Cleveland. They kicked him out of Cleveland. We're going to pay Deshaun Watson all this money. He goes to the Panthers. The Panthers sucked. They thought it's because of Baker Mayfield. He sucks. We just got to get a better quarterback. They go get Bryce Young. Bryce Young is trash behind the offensive line. His wide receivers can't catch. They Panthers looked horrible. He goes to Tampa Bay and succeeds Tom Brady. And everybody wrote Baker Mayfield off and said, listen, this guy is done. The Bucs better draft a quarterback next year, blah, blah, blah. And what does Baker Mayfield do? He puts his head down, he goes to work, and he makes the playoffs for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, granted, the NFC South, you probably could have won with the top, Michigan probably could have won that division. That's how bad that division was. But Baker Mayfield got written off. And who is the guy that everybody talked about last year about this great quarterback was Jalen Hurts. He's this great quarterback. He's going to lead his team to a Super Bowl, all of this stuff. And now these two guys go, a guy that everybody wanted and a guy nobody wanted, got to fight against each other. And it's in Tampa Bay. I can't wait. And I'm going to be rooting for the Buccaneers so hard because I hope the Eagles are one and done so I can talk all that crap on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, to all these Eagle fans that talked about how the Cowboys are always one and done. Well, you was 10-1 and now you're one and done. And I'm tired of listening about these stupid Eagles. And
Absolutely.
I hope Baker Mayfield puts it on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
I totally agree. So
I mean, every matchup has a storyline, though, Rich. It's like
you
it's
love
crazy.
football, right? This is it, right?
Yeah. NFL writers did good.
Yeah, is there a matchup where you look at and say, "Nah, that team's getting dominated"? Right.
All right. So now let me mention now the matchup, right? Like, because I'm getting excited talking about it. Like, I want Sunday and Saturday to come today. Like, I just want to watch these games. Steelers. All right. So
Real quick.
Two teams that did drop the ball. Eagles dropped the ball on losing out in the division, and the Colts definitely dropped the ball this weekend. My brother's a Colts fan. Shout out to him. Oh my God. How do you run for 200 plus yards and still lose that game? No idea.
Because they don't have a Madden guy as their clock management. Why are you calling the timeout there on fourth down? You save that timeout so you got all three in case you don't get it. They need They need Richblkman in the booth be like, no, timeout. That's not what we call the timeout. Run the play. Run the play. If we don't get it, we stop when we get the ball back.
And you don't put your third string running back in on 4th and 1 when there's a blitz coming and you expect him to catch a check down.
Yeah.
So I couldn't believe, because that whole thing changed. The Jags and the Texans and then blah, 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 blah. That was the weirdest thing I saw. Steelers going to Orchard Park, 28 degrees, forecasted for 65% snow, 65% precipitation.
With no TJ Watt.
No TJ.
Well, maybe a hurt one.
No, they've already ruled him out.
They ruled him out?
Play with that. Yeah.
He's done. MCL, right? All right, so he's out. That's tough. But I think the weather helps the Steelers.
Oh, for sure.
It doesn't help the Bills. People think that. So, okay. Yes, it helps the Bills in the long run because then other teams got to play them in the playoffs in the cold. So I get it. Like Miami doesn't want to go there, stuff like that.
Right.
But the Steelers can go there. The Steelers can play in that weather. Tomlin can get those boys ready to play in that weather. I think that's an intriguing matchup because Allen likes to try to do too much. If he does too much, he might put them in a bad situation.
Hey, I'm all for it.
So if I could call an upset, I would call Steelers over the Bills an upset due to weather conditions.
All right.
Okay.
Due to weather conditions.
I love it. Again, the NFL writers did their thing with these storylines, man. A lot of storylines going on. It's going to be an interesting weekend here and for the National Football League, and I'm here for it. Saturday, Sunday, I'm here for it. My Cowboys are going to come out and dominate Sunday afternoon, and we're gonna see who we're going to play after that, and we're just going to keep moving, man. But one last thing before we get out of here, Silver and Blue Huddle, score predictions. What do you guys think? Just give me your score predictions.
Cowboys dominate the Packers 35-7 domination.
Ooh, love it.
He's talking about turnovers and everything. Damn. I say 28-10. Cowboys. 28-10 Cowboys.
I'm going to go with, looking at who the Packers played and looking at who dominated the Packers, I'm going to go higher than that. I think the Cowboys get back in the 35 and the 40s, man. I'm going to go with 35, and I'm going to be generous to the freaking Packers. I'm going to go 35-15. Cowboys remain in the lead the entire time. There's no doubt about who controlled the game, who should have won the game, because the Cowboys are going to be in the lead the entire time. Maybe the Packers do something late in the third quarter going into the fourth, but by that time the game is already over. Dak Prescott has a great day. CeeDee Lamb has another great day. Tony Pollard does okay as well. But I see full domination by the Cowboys, and that's what we fully expect going into this game playing at home.
Real quick though, does Zaire Alexander, does he travel with CeeDee Lamb or does he play his own?
Nah.
If you travel with CD, you hurt yourself on defense.
Yeah, Brandon
because
Cooks.
Dak Prescott will find those other guys. That means your second best corner now has to cover Brandon Cooks. You got a safety now or a linebacker's got to cover Jake Ferguson, and Jalen Tolbert's emerging as that third guy. That you can't. If you travel with CD, you got to have that secondary corner that can stand up. And I don't think the Packers are going to play man coverage. They're going to have to play zone and hope Dak Prescott makes a mistake. You play man-to-man versus Cowboys offense, you're getting beat.
Absolutely. And I totally agree. So Cowboys, Packers, we all three of us got the Cowboys dominating fairly easy. So there you have it. Silver and Blue, episode number 14. So amazing return. Still got Esber here as well. And I'm Richblkman. We will see you guys next week victoriously. Okay. we got full confidence in our squad. And this is where it starts. The road to number 6. It can't get no better than that. All the chips are on the table. It looks good. This is exactly what we wanted. So here we are. So we just got to go out and play like it and get number 6. So again, you can follow us on all your streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Google as well. So make sure you follow all our social medias, Experts on YouTube, Facebook. So Amazing is also on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. Follow us all on TikTok. Make sure you also follow the Silver and Blue Huddle on Instagram, which is actually popping off. And I really ain't done nothing to it but post clips of the stream. So shout out to everybody that supported Instagram. Shout out to everybody that posts the YouTube. Again, if you ask us a question, we will answer it live here on stream and we would just go from there. But I think you haters are going to have a break for about 3-4 weeks because y'all going to have to like delete all y'all messages that the other Cowboys slander. Like y'all ain't going to have nothing to send over the next month. Okay. So be prepared for that. But Silver and Blue Huddle, man, we are out. We love you guys. Thank you guys for all the support, man. Peace out.